Shocking transformation. Girl hides her dress until a billionaire chooses her at midnight. The clock struck 10, echoing through the lavish ballroom like a countdown to destiny. Glittering chandeliers cast strange shadows as the music swelled, and all eyes turned to Evelyn. A girl of no more than 18, dressed in nondescript jeans and a plain white t-shirt, she stood out not for her attire, but for the undeniable aura surrounding her. The whispers were electric. "Did you hear she is hiding a dress?" Spreading through the crowd like wildfire. No one knew if the rumors were true, but the thrill was palpable, thick in the air, setting hearts racing and minds spinning. Evelyn's heart pounded in her chest, each beat a reminder of an unworldly secret. She glanced toward the back of the room, where an ornate mirror concealed her prized possession, a stunning, sapphire gown that shimmered with every glimmer of light. It was a dress only fit for a fairy tale. The legend surrounding it claimed that a billionaire would choose the one in the gown to whisk away into the night. An oddity? Perhaps. But on this night, as laughter mixed with the clinking of champagne glasses, she felt destiny lingering just behind the glossy surface of that mirror. She knew she should wear it, yet the fear of failure loomed larger than life. What if she wasn't chosen? What if all that waited for her was the ridicule of the crowd? The very idea made her hands tremble. Conversations drifted around her, half listened to, thrumming with speculation. Can you imagine if he really does choose her? What a scandal! The thrill of possibility pushed her forward, drawing her closer to the mirror. A sudden hush fell over the room as the doors swung open, and in walked Julien Devereaux, the billionaire himself. Sharp suit, piercing gaze, and a smirk that promised mischief. Gasps scattered like leaves in the wind. He casually surveyed the crowd, his presence a magnetic pull. Could he be the one? Every eye followed him, voices lost in awe. Evelyn's breath caught in her throat, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the moment lingered, time slowed. Evelyn's thoughts raced, suspicion and excitement tangling together. Was this midnight rendezvous just a gamble? What if it went awfully wrong? Questions tumbled like marbles, but then she felt a spark of hope. Deep down, a tiny voice whispered that perhaps, just perhaps, this was her chance. But as she stepped forward, drawing nearer to the mirror, an electric jolt shot through the crowd. Julien's gaze locked onto hers, sending a rush of breathless anticipation. The world faded away. Emotion surged. Would he choose her? The tension was thick, begging for release. Evelyn's heart raced, and just as she reached for the handle, a sudden crash erupted behind her, pulling the crowd's attention sharply away. What had happened? A figure emerged from the shadows, staring daggers at her, but Evelyn didn't have time to process. The moment hung in suspense, and with it, her heartbeat pulsed like a drum. What was this fierce interruption now risking her chance of a lifetime? Would she even get to put on the dress? The mystery loomed, consuming the room, and as whispers wrapped around her, she felt the exhilarating spark of fear and excitement. Just as the crowd's collective gasp echoed around the glittering room, Evelyn turned to find a woman, tall and imposing, striding toward her with unyielding determination. Her dark hair fell in perfect waves around her shoulders, but there was something unrefined in the fierceness of her features. You could tell there was fire within. Eyes narrowed, lips twisted, the woman seemed like a force of nature. "Evelyn," the woman commanded, her voice slicing through the expectant silence. "You can't hide behind that mirror forever. It's time to face the truth. Evelyn's heart dropped. Did she know her? Or worse, did she know about the dress? Paralyzed, she could only watch as the woman advanced, forcing the crowd to part like waves before a ship. Gasps mingled with urgent whispers. What was this about? Who are you? Evelyn managed, the tremor in her voice belying her fear. Clara, the woman replied, the corners of her mouth curling into a knowing smile. Julian S.X. The atmosphere shifted. Questions buzzed as the audience buzzed about the identity of the unexpected visitor, eyes darting back and forth between Clara and Julian, who remained stationary, a slight bemused look on his face. Was it shock? Was it intrigue? Or was it something more? The room felt like it was closing in on Evelyn. Clara's presence was overwhelming. She looked perfectly at ease in the chaos, and yet her eyes were locked on Evelyn, leaving her feeling vulnerable and exposed. It was as if Clara could see straight through her, a threatening threat that unsettled the depths of her new ambition. Why are you here? Evelyn's voice barely made it through the clenching in her throat. Because, dear, this is not your fairy tale, Clara snarled, stepping forward until they were mere inches apart. I know about the dress, and I know what it can offer you. But you're about to step into a world you can't possibly comprehend. A flicker of alarm ignited within Evelyn. Could her secret really be that powerful? Just like the dress, Clara's words shimmered with an unsettling promise. Evelyn took a step back, trying to steady herself. I don't need you to tell me what I can or can't handle. Clara laughed, but there was an edge to it, sharp and cutting. You're right. But I'm not here to tell you. I'm here to warn you. Julian isn't a noble prince. He is more like a wolf in sheep's clothing. The warning hung in the air, thick and pungent with truth. Evelyn's heart raced as she tried to process the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside her. Was Julian the one true escape she had always dreamed of? Or was he just another puppet master ready to pull her strings? From across the ballroom, Julian raised an eyebrow, intrigued, his focus shifting from the unfolding drama to Evelyn's expression. The combination of power and temptation emanating from him was intoxicating yet dizzying. But suddenly, a deafening crash rang out again, louder this time, commanding everyone's attention in an instant. A chandelier trembled above, casting chaotic shadows as it swayed precariously. Gasps erupted, the crowd shifting uneasily. What was that? Someone shouted, as again the whispers climbed higher. Evelyn turned back to Clara, but in her eyes, she found something beyond malice, a spark of concern. You need to make your choice now, Evelyn. This is your moment. Evelyn's mind raced. Could she trust Clara? Moments passed like hours, tension stretching to breaking point. The choice loomed like a shadow, dark and daunting. Will you play this game? Clara whispered, gripping Evelyn's arm with urgency, or will you step back and let your chance slip away? Evelyn caught Julian's eye again, his smirk still lingering. Heart pounding, she felt the weight of the dress, a promise of a new life, and the fear mingle as reality twisted around her. What had she suddenly invited into her world? Would she dive under pressure, or would she step forward and face everything on her own terms? The clock continued ticking towards midnight, a solemn reminder of the choices that lay ahead, and the night was far from over. Evelyn took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment as a palpable energy surged through the air, engulfing them all in suspense. What secrets lay just out of sight? As the chandelier swayed ominously, Evelyn realized one undeniable truth. She was standing at a crossroads, and the path she chose could change everything. The atmosphere in the ballroom crackled with tension as Evelyn fought to break free from Clara's grip on her arm. The urgency in Clara's eyes screamed that time was running out. Evelyn! Clara's voice cut through the noise like a knife. If you hesitate, Everything you've dreamed of could slip away. In that moment, the world around her seemed to fade into a blur. Julian was still watching, a predator waiting to pounce, shadows flickering across his face as the chandelier swayed above. Was he the key to her freedom, or an anchor weighing her down? Choose wisely, Clara whispered, her words curling like smoke around Evelyn's thoughts. Overwhelmed, Evelyn stumbled back, her heart racing. She could feel the eyes of the crowd boring into her, their whispers amplifying her anxiety. She desperately sought clarity in Clara's stormy expression. What truth lay beneath Clara's warning? "Julian," she shouted, her voice trembling and raw. "What do you want from me?" "Everything you could offer," he called back smoothly, gliding across the dance floor with an elegance that seemed almost unnatural. "But more importantly, what will you offer yourself?" Evelyn's breath hitched. She realized then that she stood not just before a choice, but before a mirror reflecting her deepest desires and fears. She felt the fabric of the dress against her skin, an undeniable symbol of transformation, drawing her into its powerful allure. Each heartbeat felt like it echoed in the vast space around her, a countdown that synced with the ticking clock as it neared midnight. What if she embraced Clara's warning? What if she chose the path to play the game? Would it free her or bind her? "Evelyn, you can't be naive," Clara urged, stepping into her gaze fiercely. "Julian is not just a man. He has a force wrapped in charisma. People have fallen for him way more than you realize. You need to know what you're getting into." The tension among the gathered guests shimmered as they leaned in, waiting for Evelyn's next move. Some looked worried. Others appeared thrilled by the drama. It was a performance, and she stood at center stage with everything on the line. Suddenly, an eerie stillness fell over the room, the heavy air charged with expectation. With every beating pulse inside her, Evelyn could feel the weight of her decision looming like storm clouds ready to unleash their fury. "What if I do make a deal?" she shot back, her voice stronger now, desperation morphing into steel. "What if I find out what true power feels like?" Julian's expression shifted, a fleeting glimpse of admiration flickering in those dark eyes. "Power comes at a price. Will you pay it, Evelyn?" Clara stepped closer, her voice lowered to a whisper. "You don't need to pay that price. Choose me instead. I can guide you, keep you safe from the consequences Julian brings." There it was, the ultimate dilemma. Two paths. One that glittered with chance and the unknown. The other cloaked in shadow with threats lurking beneath the surface. Time felt suspended as the clock ticked louder, counting down to midnight, and the air around Evelyn thickened with anticipation. She could see Julian's smirk widening, an invitation masked by hidden dangers. But Clara stood ready, a fierce guardian of all that was still uncertain. As she took a deep breath, Evelyn knew the decision she made tonight would shatter her illusions and reveal the truth behind the glitzy world she craved. Could she bear the cost of unmasking desires hidden away? As the clock struck 12, she felt the energy shift, electric and alive. With one heartbeat to go, her answer trembled on her lips, ready to escape. But what would it unleash? Would she shatter everything she held dear, or transform into something new entirely? The weight of possibility crashed around her, each second more crushing than the last. Just then, a sudden crash erupted, a figure rebelliously breaking through the ballroom doors, disrupting the fragile balance. "Stop! You're making a grave mistake," a voice thundered, sending tremors through the crowd. All eyes swung towards the entrance, confusion gripping the guests tightly. Evelyn's heart raced at the unexpected interruption. Who was it, and what did they know? The night had just begun to unravel. The ballroom erupted into a chaotic buzz, the sudden intrusion casting a heavy pall over the lavish scene. Eyes darted from Evelyn to the newcomer, whose presence commanded immediate attention. He stood tall, wild hair tousled and brow set in determination. The bright lights framed him like an avenging angel. "Who are you?" Julian's voice came through the commotion, measured but laced with displeasure. The man pushed past startled guests, the fabric of his jacket brushing against their opulent dresses and tailored suits. "I'm the one who is going to save her," he replied, locking eyes with Evelyn. His gaze was fierce, piercing through the ambience of wealth and deceit. "From what?" Clara shot back, exasperated. "From making a choice? She needs to decide for herself." Attention rippled through the crowd, a mix of intrigue and disbelief washing over their faces. People whispered, speculating on the stranger's intent. Some looked amused, while others borrowed concern from Clara. Their worry echoed in their furrowed brows. "Evelyn!" the newcomer called, his voice trembling with urgency. "You can't let them manipulate you. Don't follow Julian down a dark path. He'll use you, just like he has the others." A gasp flitted through the guests. Evelyn felt the weight of their eyes shift back to her, pure astonishment painted on every face. She was being thrust into a collision of opposing forces. Julian flashed a smile, calculated and cold. "And you are?" "Lucas," he shot back, without skipping a beat. "A friend. Maybe one you should keep around." The crowd seemed to lean in closer, drawn by the tension. Evelyn's pulse raced, confusion and excitement swirling within her. The man defending her held a secret she couldn't decipher yet, an enigmatic shield against Julian's insidious charm. But could she trust him? "Why should I believe you?" she called out, feeling the need to retake control. "What do you know about me?" "I know you dream of more," Lucas replied, stepping forward, fierce conviction resonating in his tone. "You're not just a pretty face in a gown. There is strength within you, Evelyn, and letting Julian into your life will shatter that strength into pieces." Evelyn clenched her fists, feeling both terrified and exhilarated. She had needed someone who could see beyond her external beauty, a shatterproof reflection in the mirror of life's choices. Julian chuckled softly, gliding closer, the predatory gleam in his eyes returning. "Isn't it sweet, this little act of desperation? But, dear Lucas, she'll never embrace power without making sacrifices. You can't lead a horse to water and expect it to drink unless it understands the cost." "Evelyn," Lucas said again, softer now, but laced with an intensity that made her breath hitch. "Listen to me. You have to choose the path that feeds your soul, not one that strips it away." In that moment, Evelyn felt as if she were standing at the edge of a cliff, peering into an abyss of possibilities. The weight of her decision clung to her like the jeweled bodice of her dress, choking her, making it hard to breathe. "I don't want to shatter," she shouted, her voice rising above the clamoring whispers. "I want to rise. But how? What is the right choice?" Silence fell briefly, a shared heartbeat among the guests. Clara's eyes twinkled with a mix of fear and hope. Julian stood poised, a smirk frozen on his lips, clearly entertained by the unfolding chaos. A glimmering shard of clarity shot through Evelyn as the seconds ticked away. Just then, the chandelier overhead jolted, flickering dangerously, casting fractured lights across the ballroom. As the room held its breath, a low rumble echoed, reverberating from the ceiling. The lights dimmed, and the atmosphere turned electric. Something was coming. She could feel it in her bones. Clara's whisper broke through the tension, trembling as the chandelier trembled above. "Make your choice." Julian growled, eyes narrowing on her. Evelyn felt the world envelop her, an amalgamation of loyalty, fear, and desire swirling in a torrent. In the midst of it all, she realized her answer might be louder than any words she could speak. Would she embrace her transformation, or would the night expose her to unseen dangers? Suddenly, a crack split the room as the chandelier fell, and in that instant, everything hung in the balance. The chandelier plummeted, a glittering comet descending toward the crowd. Time slowed as horror painted every face, eyes wide, mouths parted in silent screams. Evelyn felt it all twist in her stomach, the panic, the uncertainty, the weight of choice pressing against her chest like an iron vice. "Evelyn, move!" Lucas shouted, lunging toward her. With no time to think, instinct kicked in. She grabbed his arm as he pulled her away from danger, the world around her blurring into a cacophony of fear and desperate shouts. The chandelier crashed to the marble floor, shards exploding in every direction like a rain of diamonds. The ballroom erupted into chaos. Guests scrambled for cover, their sophisticated attire morphing into mere fabric in the horror. A scream pierced the air, followed by the thud of bodies hitting the ground. Evelyn's heart raced as she and Lucas ducked behind an overturned table, breathless and terrified. What just happened?" Evelyn gasped, adrenaline surging through her veins. "That was no accident," Lucas replied, his voice edged with urgency. He met her gaze, those eyes unyielding amid the panic. "Someone wants to stop you, to stop us." "Stop us how?" she questioned, confusion mingling with dawning fear as the darkness she had felt creeping and solidified into something real and threatening. Lucas stared past the fallen chandelier, the wreckage still smoking. "I knew Julian was dangerous, but I didn't think he'd go this far." Julian's laughter, unmistakably cruel, echoed through the chaos, chilling Evelyn to her core. "You think you can escape your fate? You will make a choice, Evelyn, or the choice will be made for you." Evelyn's blood ran cold. She had thought she was standing at the edge of a decision, but now she was cornered, like a deer caught in headlights. "Look, we need to get out of here," Lucas insisted, grasping her hand tightly. As they began to crawl away from the chaos, the crowd was fraying at the seams. Some gaped at the wreckage, while others frantically searched for their loved ones. The air buzzed with fear, punctuated by the sound of sirens drawing nearer outside, a promise of safety that felt distant. "Where do we go?" she asked, her voice cracking. "There's a service exit," he said quickly, glancing around. "We can't let Julian corner us. He'll manipulate the situation to his favor." Evelyn's heart hammered, each beat reminding her of the choices that loomed, choices intertwined with the flickering lights left dim in the ballroom. She needed to trust him. As they made their way to the exit, dread clawed at her insides. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows. Julian, a dark specter among the chaos, his presence suffocating. "Evelyn!" he snarled, advancing as if the chaos only fueled his power. "You think you can flee the inevitable? You belong here. I own you." "No!" she shouted, finding her voice despite the terror. "I'm not yours." Lucas pulled her closer, protectively, as they edged toward the exit. "You need to realize your strength, Evelyn. This isn't about him. Stay away from her." Lucas roared, taking a defiant step forward, narrowing the distance. And in that tense moment, the lights flickered again, plunging them into a flickering darkness, accentuating the shadows lurking just beyond the edges of her consciousness. Evelyn stood frozen, caught between the man who sought her freedom and the one who claimed her as his own. Was she prepared to decide? The doors swung open with a crash, revealing a figure silhouetted against the security lights. Another twist, another turn. "Evelyn," the newcomer said, his voice sharp yet smooth, "it's time for a truth you don't yet know." In that second, confusion swirled around her. Was this another play, another lie? And just as she contemplated the possibility of escape, something in her gut told her she was only at the beginning of a much darker game. Evelyn's breath caught as she scanned the room for an escape. The newcomer's presence was magnetic yet terrifying, every sparkle from the chandelier shards glinting ominously around him. Lucas's grip tightened around her wrist. "We can't trust him," he hissed, pulling her back. But what if she faltered, glancing at the stranger who now stepped forward, his expression unreadable, a shadowed mask over sharp features. "Evelyn, you need to listen to me," he continued, voice steady amidst the chaos. "There's a greater game at play here, and Julian is only one piece of it. You have a choice to make, and it won't be easy. We don't have time for riddles." Lucas snapped, urgency flooding his voice. "Julian is right there." Suddenly, Julian laughed again, cold and mocking. "You think you can protect her, Lucas? She needs to choose her own fate, not hide behind you like a coward." Evelyn stood trembling, feeling the weight of gazes from the scattered guests caught between curiosity and terror. Was this really happening? Was her life now just a game? The unicorn suit, the garden, the secret meetings, everything that had once seemed so enchanting now felt tainted, twisted into something sinister. It sank into her gut, like stones pulling her deeper into darkness. The truth hit her. She was a pawn, caught between two forces, both fighting to claim her. "What truth?" she managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. "What do you mean?" "Julian's influence extends far beyond this evening," the man replied, stepping into the light. His features sharpened, revealing striking blue eyes that seemed to pierce through the chaos. "You're part of a legacy that goes back generations. One that can either destroy or uplift. Where is your proof?" Lucas demanded, defensive. "Simple." The stranger leaned closer, his tone dropping to a whisper meant only for them. "You'll want to trust me when I say the physical world is only part of the truth. There are secrets buried so deep, Evie, even you may not know them yet." "Stop calling me that," she snapped, anger surging within. She didn't need cryptic answers, she needed action. But what could she do? Her heart was thudding painfully, caught in a whirlwind of fear and confusion. "Make a choice, Evelyn," Julian taunted, stepping closer. "Decide who you want to be. This is your moment." Suddenly, chaos erupted again as police officers burst through the doors, their shouts reverberating against the marble walls. "Everyone, stay calm," one yelled, waving hands to direct the guests. In the blink of an eye, Evelyn felt the sudden rush of bodies moving around her, people pushing toward the exits. Amidst the chaos, she glanced at Lucas. He looked as terrified as she felt. "Evelyn!" the newcomer called, reaching for her. "Trust me." As Julian moved to block her way, the room spun in disarray. Lights flickered again, casting shadows that danced menacingly. It felt like the world was closing in, pressing against her lungs. "Run!" Lucas shouted, pulling her away from both men who vied for her attention. She hesitated for just a moment, remembering that laughter, that claim of ownership Julian had thrown at her. Could she really escape this? The service exit was closer, but just as they approached, the figure in blue blocked it with a single determined step, his intensity igniting a flicker of hope amidst the fear. "No more waiting," he said, voice low but commanding. "You can change everything if you choose to see the truth." Evelyn felt her heart race, her mind a whirlwind of choices. The sirens grew louder, bodies moved frantically, and fate loomed just above her head. She glanced back at Julian, saw the malicious grin plastered on his face, and felt rage swell within her. Maybe it was time to make her own choice. Before she could think, she shouted for all to hear, "I'm not your puppet, Julian." But as soon as the words left her mouth, a strange energy pulsed through her, a feeling of power she had never known. Was it fear? Or was it the strength of choosing her own destiny? Evelyn took a step forward, determination clawing at her chest. And in that instant, everything shifted. The newcomer smiled, his eyes gleaming with anticipation, as if he had been waiting for this exact moment. "Then let us uncover the truth together." But at that moment, something shattered in her mind. The truth was out there, but so were the consequences. As she braced herself for whatever came next, a bitter laugh echoed behind her, sending a shiver down her spine. Julian had yet to reveal his final play. What had she truly set into motion? In the heart of turmoil, the door creaked ominously, revealing shadows that promised both danger and revelation. The game was far from over, and the stakes were higher than she could have imagined. The air crackled with tension as Evelyn stood in the eye of the storm, her decision hanging heavily between the two dissonant worlds surrounding her. The flashes of chaos swirled around her like a cyclone, lost whispers of fear piercing through the air. "Evelyn, now!" Lucas urged, panic etched across his features as he tugged at her once more. He felt the urgency of every second slipping away, every heartbeat echoing her indecision. She swallowed hard, glancing between the ominous figure of Julian and the desperate plea in the eyes of the stranger. This was her defining moment, the weight of destiny pressing against her ribs. The newcomer stepped closer, his intensifying blue gaze drawing her in like a moth to fire. "You can escape this chaos, but the path won't be easy. We are all players in this game, and you've just made your first move. You must embrace it." Julian's laugh cut through the whirlwind, sharp as glass. "Oh, how naive. You really think you can change anything? This is a show, and you're still just a player on my stage." His words sent a ripple of doubt through her, but she shook it off, fostering the flickering flame of determination inside her. "Let me show you your truth, Evelyn," the newcomer urged, his voice both soothing and commanding. But before she could respond, the wails of police sirens blared, louder, drawing near with inevitable certainty. The room's panic swelled, eyes bulging into the tightening circle of madness. With every second passing, the shadows lengthened, inching closer to consume her. Julian, feigning amusement, stepped forward, spreading his arms wide, a theatrical gesture that matched the havoc surrounding them. "Make your choice, sweet girl. Or will you let fate decide for you?" "Stop it!" she cried, shaking with a surging pulse of courage. "I refuse to let you manipulate me any longer." Before she could regain her composure, an explosion of screams filled the air as glass shattered across the room. The police had forced their way in. Red and blue lights flashed, creating a disorienting dance of colors that made it hard to think clearly. Evelyn felt Lucas's grip on her tighten. He had become her anchor amidst the storm. "We have to move. Now!" he urged again, his voice breaking through her determination. "Wait," she began, but the newcomer shook his head, urgency radiating from every angle. "You don't have time. Trust yourself, trust your instincts." Her heart raced, the very essence of her being teetering on the edge of revelation. She glanced back at Julian, who now wore a mask of rage, eyes darkening like clouds before a storm. It was as if she had awakened something primal within him. "Enough of this charade," he spat, venom curling around his words. "I'll tear apart the very fabric of your reality if I must." Just then, a loud crash reverberated through the room, stunning everyone into silence. An officer, determined and fierce, stepped forward, aiming a flashlight into the chaos, the beam landing squarely on Julian. The momentum shifted like a tide, and her oppressive fear tangled with a sense of action. "Step away from her," the officer commanded, voice dripping with authority as every eye turned on the unfolding confrontation. Evelyn felt the atmosphere shift as the attention turned towards Julian, but she knew it wasn't over. "Let us go, Evie." Lucas pulled her towards the back, but she hesitated, a million thoughts racing through her mind. Something inside her snapped, a sense of clarity emerging from the depths of confusion. "No!" she shouted suddenly, pulling away. "This ends now." With newfound resolve, she turned to Julian. "You will not own me. Not now, not ever." Julian's face transformed, a mixture of disbelief and fury washing over him. "You think this is over? What you've unleashed?" But his words were cut off as chaos erupted again, a clash of forces as the police began to close in. Evelyn realized the truth of her choice, This wasn't about flight or fight. It was about breaking free. With one defiant breath, she turned to the stranger, determination blazing in her eyes. "Show me this truth you speak of." The newcomer nodded, a flicker of satisfaction sparking in his gaze. "Then let us get out of here. The real game is just beginning." As they began to move, she felt the weight of both anticipation and dread coil around her. The door swung open, revealing shadows and uncertainty that stretched out like a darkened path ahead. But even with every instinct urging her to flee, a chilling question lingered in her mind. Was Julian really finished with her, or had she just ignited a war that would shatter everything she knew? They dashed into the night, leaving behind the remnants of a life that felt unreal. But the thrill of liberation was overshadowed by an unsettling truth. The real battle was still waiting out there, in the unforgiving dark. What had she unwittingly unleashed, and what would Julian do next? The escape was a blur of shadows and panic. Evelyn sprinted down the alley, the cold air biting at her skin, leaving her gasping. Lucas was beside her, his eyes wide with fear and adrenaline. The chaos of the past few minutes clung to her like a shroud, thick and suffocating. "Evelyn!" he shouted, pulling her to a halt. "Where are we going? We need a plan." She could barely think straight. The thought of Julian lurking somewhere in the dark sent a chill down her spine. "We can't go back. Not now. We just have to keep moving." Suddenly, a flicker of movement caught her eye. She turned, heart racing, but it was only a rat scurrying across the pavement. The world around her felt alive with lurking dangers and potential threats, but ironically, it was the uncertainty that ignited her resolve. The stranger, the one who claimed to show her the truth, was already ahead, gesturing for them to follow deeper into the shadows. "This way," he urged, his voice echoing against the brick walls. Evelyn glanced at Lucas, searching for assurance. His lips were pressed tight, anxiety etched across his brow. "Do we trust him?" he whispered, uncertainty gnawing at him. "I have to," she explained, the weight of her decision crashing down on her. She felt forked paths before her, realms of unknown complexity spiraling in every direction. The momentary peace of choosing a direction vanished, disappearing under the surface of the dire reality. Before she could speak again, the sound of sirens echoed through the narrow streets. They were coming. Fear gripped her heart, tightening its hold even more as she broke into a run, a relentless burst of instinct guiding her. "Evelyn!" Lucas called again, but she was focused on the fleeing figure ahead. They barreled forward, the darkened alleyway closing in around them. They emerged onto a street that felt altogether too quiet after the chaos, a stark contrast to the violent eruption they had just left. The night sky loomed overhead, thick with clouds, as if it were holding its breath. The stranger led them toward a decrepit warehouse, its windows broken and its exterior littered with graffiti. A perfect hideout. "Inside," he urged, tugging at the door, which creaked ominously as he pulled it open. They slipped in quickly, the smell of metal and dampness enveloping them. "What now?" Lucas panted, leaning against the wall, catching his breath. Evelyn shook her head, her mind racing. "What did Julian mean when he said I unleashed something?" she murmured, torment curling in her gut. The sudden prospect of having ignited a conflict larger than herself was overwhelming. "Whatever it is, we need to be ready," the stranger said, his expression somber. "Julian won't stop. You challenged him, and he hates to lose." That realization, dulling the thrill of freedom, hit her like a cold slap. Tension tightened around her heart. "What do you mean I challenged him?" "You stood against him," he replied. "That makes you a target. But it also gives you strength. You'll have to learn to harness it. Knowledge is power, and you have to know your enemies and yourself." Evelyn felt the weight of those words settle in her stomach. She remembered Julian's fury, the way his very being seemed to boil with rage. A shiver raced through her, a blend of fear and defiance coursing through her veins. "What is the truth you want to show me?" she pressed, voice trembling yet fierce. "The truth is scary, but it's your only way to understand what you've stepped into," he said, stepping closer, urgency focused in his eyes. "Julian has more control over this city than you can imagine. You're tangled in his web now, but we can navigate it together." Her breath hitched. "Together? But what does that mean?" Before the stranger could respond, a crash echoed from outside, followed by shouting, an unmistakable indication that they were being hunted. "Time's up," he shouted, urgency piercing the awareness of the looming darkness. "We have to act now. Are you ready to embrace what is coming?" Evelyn's heart raced. She faced the truth. She was not who she had been just moments ago. She had stepped into a dangerous game, and only one side would survive. For the first time, she felt the pulse of power within. With steely resolve, she nodded, an iron determination hardening her voice. "Let us go. I'm done hiding." As they moved to the shadows, Evelyn wondered, would she become the weapon or the victim in this treacherous game? What did Julian have up his sleeve? The warehouse felt cavernous, darkness swallowing them in thick layers. Echoes bounced around the abandoned structure, the distant sound of their pursuers growing closer. Evelyn's heart thudded wildly, the rhythm matching the urgency coursing through her veins. "Quick, over here!" The stranger beckoned, darting toward a staircase that spiraled upward, its steps crumbling underfoot. Lucas fell and stepped behind him, but Evelyn hesitated. She glanced back at the entrance, a sense of loss gripping her. They were already being hunted, and she could feel the weight of the threats closing in on them. "Evelyn, come on," Lucas urged, face pale with anxiety. She urged herself to move. Whatever lay ahead couldn't be as frightening as the certainty of capture. They scaled the staircase, the old wood creaking ominously beneath their weight. Footfalls echoed from below, chilling her more than any shadow. Reaching the top, they found themselves in a cramped room, shrouded in silence, save for the rattling breaths they shared. "We need to barricade the door," the stranger said, his words oddly calm against the backdrop of chaos. He rushed to a stack of abandoned crates, urging them to move quickly. Evelyn threw herself into the task, her muscles straining. She felt adrenaline sparking through her, making her strong. Together, they pushed the crates against the door, just as the first heavy thud struck against it. A cold dread washed over her. They might not have long at all. "That one hold them forever," Lucas whispered, anxiety and fear twisting his features. "What are we going to do?" The stranger turned, eyes sharp. "Evelyn needs to learn about what she has unleashed. We don't have time to waste." "What do you mean?" she explained, frustration spilling forth. "All I know is that Julian, and that's why you're here." He interrupted, urgency bleeding through his voice. "This is about your power. The moment you stood against him, you woke something inside you. Something Julian fears." "Me? I'm just a girl." The words slipped out before she could rein them back in, the disbelief clear in her voice. "No," he said sharply. "You're much more than that now. You have the ability to challenge the darkness, to bring truth to light." But first a sudden crash behind them drew their attention. The barricade shifted, panic flooding her senses. "Get behind me," the stranger commanded. He took a step forward, clearly ready to confront whatever came through, but she couldn't stay back. A fierce instinct surged through her, and suddenly, she felt an energy crackling in the air, a humming awareness that made her skin tingle. "I can feel it," she whispered, a mixture of fear and empowerment flooding her. "It's there," he confirmed, his gaze steady on her. "You just need to embrace it." Emboldened, she focused on the sensation, feeling it swell within her, consuming her doubts. She took a step toward the door, determination anchoring her stance. The crashing sound echoed louder, but she stood firm. When the door finally burst open, revealing a dark silhouette silhouetted against the flickering light from outside, instead of trembling, she felt a rush of strength. Evelyn Lucas's voice wavered behind her, confusion echoing in his tone. She stared into the shadow where the figure stood, heart pounding like a war drum. "Show yourself," she commanded, her voice clearer than she expected. A chuckle rumbled from the figure, a dark resonance that seemed to chill the air. "Clever girl. But you'll soon learn that power comes at a price. Stop hiding, Julian," she shouted, emboldened by something she never thought she'd possess. The air bristled with tension, every nerve ending alive with the weight of the moment. "What do you want from me?" she pressed, feeling the rhythm of her heart sink with a newfound courage. "I want you to understand," he replied, stepping into the light, eyes glinting like daggers. "You're in my realm now." And then, everything shifted. The wooden crates exploded inward as Lucas yelled out, scrambling to catch her, as a blast of unseen force rushed into the room, a strike that sent her flying back against the wall. A vague laughter echoed in her ears as darkness coursed through her veins, blurring her vision, the very power that was meant to sustain her threatening to drown her instead. For a fleeting moment, she clung to the hope that flickered within, a desperate harbor in a crashing storm. What was happening? Could she truly control the darkness, or was she destined to succumb to its grip? And through it all, Julian's voice lingered, whispering thoughts that chilled her spine. "You've only just begun." The time to choose was fast approaching. Embrace the power, or let it consume her. Would she rise as a warrior, or fall like the many before her? As the shadows grew darker, a longing for the truth ignited. The answer lay just outside her reach, waiting to be uncovered. Evelyn felt the cold wall jab against her back as her world dimmed. The darkness was thick and suffocating, wrapping around her like a shroud. Julian's laughter echoed through her fractured mind, a haunting reminder of the choice she had made to stand against him. "Embrace it," his voice whispered, teasing her to accept the power swirling through her veins. "You've awakened something too powerful to ignore." But in that moment, fear gripped her tighter than all the shadows combined. She felt it, the dark force trying to seize control, pulling her deeper into its malevolent embrace. Panic surged, incoherent thoughts whirling in her mind, battling against the primal urges clawing at her consciousness. "Evelyn!" Lucas's voice pulled her from the darkness, his presence a beacon amid the chaos. "Fight it! You can control it." She focused on the warmth of his voice, grounding herself against the tempest inside. With a fierce determination, she tapped into her strength, the strength that had been waiting to emerge. "No more running. No more hiding. Enough!" she shouted, her voice echoing defiantly, cutting through the dark veil. She stepped forward, edging out of the shadows and into the light, where she would take control of her destiny instead of letting it be dictated by others. The very air vibrated with her declaration. A surge of energy coursed through her, illuminating her being. The room felt charged, electric, as if responding to her will. She sensed the darkness retreat, sputtering like a flame cast from a strong wind. Julian's expression shifted, surprise flickering across his face. "You think you can handle it?" he challenged, but with less conviction. "Yes," she replied, voice steady and filled with burgeoning power. With every ounce of fearlessness, she reached inside herself, drawing upon the pulsating energy she had felt before. "I will not be a pawn in your game any longer." With a fierce thrust, she pushed back the darkness, guiding it away from her like casting aside an unwanted cloak. Suddenly, she could see it, a wave of energy, dark tendrils swirling like smoke, breaking apart with her will. It dissipated into nothingness, leaving a clarity that lifted her spirit. The room shuddered, filling with light, pushing the shadows back. Guests outside were drawn to the illumination, gazing into the warehouse with astonished eyes. Lucas stood beside her, all plastered across his features, eyes shining with admiration. "Evelyn! You did it!" But Julian stood his ground, an ironic smile forming on his lips. "You think this is over? You think you won? You merely delayed the inevitable." "That's where you're wrong, Julian," she countered, steadying her gaze. "I'm not scared of you anymore. I know who I am." With that final affirmation, the air shifted again, a pulse resonating in the space between them. Julian's eyes glinted with something darker, a mixture of admiration and fury. "You may have found your strength tonight, but many will rise against you. You'll need more than bravado to survive this." "I'll face whatever comes my way," she declared, feeling Lucas's hand reach for hers, a tether binding their resolve. One last look passed between Julian and Evelyn, a silent acknowledgment of the battle lines that had been drawn. The unknown still loomed, treacherous and vast, but Evelyn felt emboldened. Whatever lay ahead, she would face it as not just a girl in a dress, but as a force determined to reclaim her story. As they stepped out of the warehouse, the cool night air rushed to meet them. The chaos had transformed into whispers of disbelief among the guests surrounding them. They looked at her not with judgment, but awe, intrigued by the girl who had challenged a billionaire and emerged unbroken. "Evelyn!" A voice rang out sharply. She turned to see Clara moving through the crowd, eyes filled with a new light and unexpected alliance forming among women previously at odds. "You've awakened something remarkable. You might have more ahead than you realize." "I'm ready," Evelyn replied, voice strong and bright. The truth awaited, teeming with potential, yet brimming with uncertainty, but she would face it head-on. She was no longer a puppet dancing on strings. She would carve her own path. With uplifting earlier revelations flaring in her mind, they walked together into the night, hand in hand, ready to embrace whatever was coming. This was just the beginning, a story of empowerment, unity, and choice. No one would decide for her. No one would cast her aside. They stepped forward, the night alive with the hum of possibilities. And though the darkness still lurked in corners, she had found her light. Now, if you want to keep up with more thrilling stories like this, you need to subscribe immediately to the channel. Smash that like button now to show your support and help us spread the word. I want to hear from each of you, so flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this incredible ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see how this all unfolds. Let us build our community and keep the excitement rolling together.